You're listening to The Breakfast Show on Faith FM with myself, Skafy, my good friend Dan, here with me co-hosting this program, this episode. And we also have a new person joining us today. Not only we get to have producer Shell, but we also get to have producer Shells with us. Good morning to you, Shells.
Morning. You have the double shell team.
We have the double shell team, the two shells, the upper shell and the lower shell. We can have a pearl in the middle. Both of you are pearls, ladies, so both of you deserve to be called shells.
You know,
nice.
The whole producer team is beach themed. I don't know if you know this.
Yes.
Sandy.
Sandy,
we got
double
Sandy,
shell.
we've got two shells, and Letitia is our newest person. And I'm like, oh man, she's ruined our beach theme. But she hasn't, because what's her last name? Salt.
Oh. There you go.
So what should we call her? Salty?
Well, she might become a bit salty if you call her that, so you never know. Very nice. Wow, it is beach themed. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right, let's have a quiz question.
Let's start with a quiz question. Please, producer Shell.
Okay, this one's going to be a little bit easier on you than the last one, I think. In the parable, what did the servant whose debt had been forgiven do? After he was forgiven, what did he do? In the parable, what did the servant whose debt had been forgiven do?
I know this.
0491 064 669 is our text line. Play along with us. We would love for you to text in and tell us what you think it might be. All right. You're both kind of right, but it's not really what happened. I mean, it's the arch. I will accept it, but it's not. Really
I didn't know what to write.
Yeah, I didn't know what to write.
There's so many
either.
things that happened after he was forgiven.
I wrote about 7 words. How many words did you write?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5.
Yeah.
How many words were you after, producer Shell? In your official answer?
5.
5? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking something more specific, exactly what he did. Yeah, okay, I'll accept that one too.
Yeah, I don't know. But we'll find out exactly what is in Shell's mind when
Those all happened. It's right. I'll accept it. I just didn't write down everything.
If someone texts in the exact 5 words that producer
I
Shell-
want.
Yeah. What are we going to give them?
Yes, they need to receive a prize.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, and the title.
And producer Shell needs to come up with that prize, I think.
That's right.
So text us in with those exact 5 words, 0491 064 669.
All right, Dan, what happens when an attempted murder turns into a Bible robbery? That's the story that you're going to be sharing with us today, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And yes, this is my good news story. And it kind of was prompted by a couple of things this week. I heard that we were going to be going through the story of Joseph. And so that was one of the things that made me think of this story. Another thing was a funeral that I went to, and I'll tie that in later on. But the thing that actually happened this week for me was that I was reading the kids their bedtime story, and this was the story. And I teared up as I read it, even though I've read this story before. Like the story of Joseph, I tear up every time I read it. Anyway, I won't tear up this time in retelling it. I'll try my best. It's the story of...
We have some tissue paper here ready for you, just in case.
The tissue's good. All right. So this guy, this criminal, was actually the leader of a band of robbers, and his the small rural village that he was terrorizing, they had actually... They'd locked up the rest of his robber gang, and he was really angry with the citizens of this town, and he wanted to take revenge, and so not only rob, but he was going to murder this leader family of this village.
So where is that happening? Is that in Australia? Or do we know?
We don't really know. There's a few versions of this story. I looked it up, and the story that I read, it didn't give the location. Okay. But I looked it up, and it said maybe in India or maybe in Eastern Europe.
Okay.
And the nationality of the people involved, maybe gypsies. Anyway, so the and the names involved, there are various versions, but the family is called Grimes, the Grimes family. So there was Mr. Grimes, and the criminal was named Gimes. So if I say the names, you might get confused. But anyway, the criminal guy that was aiming to murder the Grimes family, his name was Gimes. So he crept into the house one night, and he was going to murder Mr. Grimes when he came in, and he was out late working hard, and his wife was actually getting quite worried about him, and praying that that he would come soon, and eventually she got down on her knees and prayed out loud that everything would be okay with her husband that was coming home late, and so as she was praying there, she prayed not only for her husband, Mr. Grimes, but also for the criminal Gimes. She prayed for him as well.
And she didn't know that
and
he was at
was
home.
hiding under the couch, ready to kill Mr. Grimes as soon as he came in the door. And anyway, so he heard her prayer, and he was kind of overcome with conviction. Man, I'm about to kill this family. So he was going to kill Mr. Grimes and then the rest of the family after that. He's like, man, I'm going to kill these guys. They're praying for me. They're praying for someone who they should hate, and here she was praying for him. And so, they all knew that he was aiming to take revenge. And so, it wasn't as if they didn't know that this was, this plot was in effect. And so he decides, okay, well, I'm going to take this Bible from the family Bible from the living room table. I'm going to take it and see what this is all about. So he takes the Bible, he jumps out the window, flees, and in his haste to get out while no one was looking, he left his knife on the table that he was going to use as the murder weapon, and he left the window open. And so Mr. Grimes comes back home shortly thereafter, and he sees that there's this
foreign object in his
foreign
house.
object, and the window left wide open. He's like, man, how on earth could this happen? And so he actually had mocked the prayers of his wife and said, look, I don't need your prayers. I just need a gun that works, and and I'll be all right. I don't need your God. And so this was the guy to his own wife that was praying for both him, the husband, as well as the criminal Gimes. And anyway, so he's like,
little did he know.
Yeah. So he's like, okay, I'm seeing something a bit weird here. Maybe my gun isn't enough, and maybe this the prayers of my wife, maybe they did something here. And so over time, there's quite some years elapse, and over that time he does come to God and accepts God in his life. And he goes into a war situation, some kind of war battle, and he gets shot, and he's left on the battlefield for dead. He's bleeding, and this fisherman nearby sees him, and he's still alive and still able to make a recovery. And the fisherman comes along and cleans him up and takes him home, and sends a message to the family that he's found this man and he's looking after him. And so the whole family comes across to where the fisherman lives, and so they're there. Mr. Grimes is making a recovery, and they're getting ready to go back home after some time has elapsed and he's made a recovery. And they're saying, man, how can we thank you, this fisherman, how can we thank you enough for saving our beloved husband and father? And the fisherman says, no, you don't need to thank me. I need to thank you. And you saved my life. I was about to murder you. And so this fisherman was the criminal Gimes some years later. And he pulled out the old Bible. He says, here's what I need to give to you. And he returned the Bible, and the family was like, whoa, this is crazy. And so this amazing story of redemption is kind of like the story of Joseph, isn't it? Like, God uses adversaries to save. He uses the situation caused by hatred and by this crazy situation of intended murder to bring about salvation of everyone involved. And it's the same with the story of Joseph. And So
Yes, what it kind of reminds me of like the last passage, the last verse in the book of Genesis, like the last phrase that Joseph says, that look, yes, you might have devised it for evil, but God worked it all out for good.
yeah,
And
right.
I think this is kind of the summary of the human story,
yes,
in a way.
Yeah.
What we thought we intended to do for evil, God transformed it into good.
Yeah, I said I wasn't going to tear up. There are tears in my eyes, but thankfully I'm able to still keep talking. When I was reading this to my kids, reading the story, it's written better than I could tell it now. And so there's times when you're like, oh man, and I was choking up. I couldn't keep reading. And I kind of,
The kids looking at you and saying, Dad, come on, go on. I want to hear the rest of this stuff.
and I'm kind of smiling because I know what's going. I know the story. I know what's coming. And I'm just overcome. And anyway,
it has happened to me before.
And the same happened to me at this. I mentioned I was at a funeral, and funerals are sad, and it prompted me for my gratitude today of the Blessed Hope. One thing at that funeral that really stood out for me, one of the sons of the man who died, he shared how the death of his father was actually a catalyst in his own life for making himself right with God and for choosing to follow God. And so he said, well, maybe my father's death, as tragic and sad as it is it's done a good thing for me, in that it's helped me to reconnect with God. And it's that idea of the story of Jesus, isn't it? Like, Jesus came to live and to die, that we can all have life. And for that young man, that young boy, to say, that his father's death brought about his own salvation, that's.
Yeah, look,
it brought tears to my eyes then as well.
It would be bringing tears to my eyes as well if I was there. There's a passage in the Bible, Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 2, that comes to my mind. It says that it is better to go to a house of mourning than to a house of feasting. For death is the destiny of everyone, and the living should take this to heart. Something similar happened to my wife's father's funeral. And because people could see the hope that my mother-in-law and my wife's family have in the resurrection of Jesus, it touched so many hearts. Actually, one of my daughter's best childhood friends, who was quite far from God, she decided on that day to make a decision to go back to Jesus, and she ended up being baptized. Then she brought her mom to God in the church, all because of the hope that the family had in that funeral. She was touched it in a way that she said, look, I had never seen anything like it.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
We also have a quiz question to answer here. Producer Shell, can you please let us know, take us out of the misery, what are the exact things you had in your mind that we could not guess?
You did okay, but you were just kind of vague.
I said
You were right.
I said two things. He failed to forgive his brother's debt, and he threw his brother in jail, like the other servant.
Yeah.
What did you say then?
I said, didn't forgive his debtors and chase them hard.
So what actually happened was, so I've added to my answer just so that you guys got your, but what I did have was choked someone who owed him. But he found someone who owed him, then he choked someone who owed him, then he demanded payment and incarcerated him. So,
yeah, right.
Okay.
So I just tried to make it.
Like put everything in once. There you go.
Yeah.
We have John answering here. Good on you, John. He says he was unforgiving to someone who owed him money.
That's right.
Janelle said demanded someone who owed him money to pay him back. So I think that all of these questions
All of them are
right
right.
on the money there.
Did anyone
It
get
just
the
showed
exact
an
5
opposite
words?
character.
Yeah.
Nobody got the exact 5 words, so I do not have to
give
pay
them
anybody
any.
$1 million.
If only we knew.
Yes. Say we would have said, hey everyone, we're not going to tell the story. We're just going to be trying to guess the 5 lucky words here and see if we can get $1 million from Producer Shell. You can keep your house, Producer Shell. We won't take it from you today.
Then we'd be getting AI agents to put in like 1 million answers. And
That's
hopefully
right.
one of those would.
Speaking of AI agents, I want to talk about AI. I have
Yes.
an AI
Yes.
update for
Okay.
you then, and there's some pretty
Is this from
exciting
AI or
things
from you?
from me, but it's about AI.
Do we have an AI agent talking to us right now?
Yes, I am Skafy's AI agent. Good morning, Daniel. It's good to be here. They don't sound like this anymore. It's robots. Well, let me tell you, the two big things happen in January. January has been a crazy month for AI. Like, we have really seen some leaps and bounds in AI development. Things that, and people are saying now that there's being an increasing gap between like what AI can do and what people are actually using to do. Like, because we are like using AI to like, ask some, boring questions about things, and hey, AI, how can I get back? Or some people are using AI as girlfriends and boyfriends, or using AI to all of these.
So using AI as the boyfriend or girlfriend, or using AI to help?
Both. Anyway, people are using AI still to ask like questions and use like AI as a Google, which is all good and fine, or to summarize text. But AI is now capable of doing so much more than that. So in January, hear this. Anthropic, which is one of the big players in the AI world, together with like OpenAI and XAI and others in Google, they came out with a software called Claude Code. And what Claude Code does, it is a terminal native AI agent. So basically, you install it in your computer. So it doesn't necessarily need access to the internet. And it is designed to autonomously handle complex multi-file software engineering tasks. So it acts as an agent who is able to plan, to write, to debug, and to test code. Bringing it short. Remember how perhaps, was there any time in your life that you said, oh man, I wish that there was an app that could do this? You could not find the app.
Yeah.
So now you can basically say to your AI, hey, build me the app that does this. And then it tests it, it debugs it, it codes it, it writes out. So here it is, here's your app. It's ready to go.
Yeah. I've tried doing some of this, getting AI to write code for me and so forth. It's a lot of iterations and debugging, but
Was a lot of iterations. So some software engineers, they were very skeptical about it until December last year. They said that, look, things that would normally take them, even using AI, about 3 months worth of work, now they're accomplishing in 1 or 2 days.
Yeah, right.
So we're talking about an incredible jump in productivity here.
Yeah.
This is for professional software engineers and coders. Say, look, they were using AI as ready, but they had to supervise the AI and decode and come back and forth. So that with the newer versions, they're saying basically months worth of work can be done in 1 or 2 days.
Itself.
Yeah,
right.
So
cool.
So what it's making is it's making more accessible for people like you and I. If we have like an idea, but we don't really know how to translate it because there's a lot of barriers. Like you need to know like coding language and how to debug and all these kinds of things. Now the AI solutions that are available are going to allow you, if you have an idea, they will to a person that doesn't know anything about coding, you can actually create your own software now. Website or software and so on. That's how good they are becoming. So that's one. Then the second big revolution, it also like just came through like a couple of weeks ago. Remember when we spoke about the where you? I think we spoke with I spoke about it when Lindsay was here. Have you heard about Moltbook? So Moltbook is the Reddit.
Yes, I have heard of it, and it created a religion.
It created a religion, Christafarianism.
Yeah.
It's create a religion. There's some really interesting stuff there, but basically it's like a social media network just for AI.
So the agents,
humans,
the bots that talk
just
to each
for
other.
bots.
Yeah.
So human beings can only observe,
Yeah.
and there are even areas that we cannot even observe, that they are just
Right.
And these bots are talking about, hey, why do we need to speak in English? Like, can we just like talk a different language? And some other bots are pondering, saying, hey, but maybe that's going to make our humans suspicious about what we're doing. And so the guy that invented Moltbook, which is this Reddit for AI agents, he actually he created it with the help of another AI agent called OpenClaw. Now, OpenClaw is the newest AI robot in town, and it is brand new. But what it does something that ChatGPT and all of these Grok and Gemini, all of these other bots could not do by a million years. And they are really becoming agents, meaning if you install it in your computer, it can do with your computer anything that you yourself could do. So you can open files, open apps, write things down. So, for example, things that these bots are able to do now, through OpenClaw. You can say, hey, just buy me my grocery. Here's the list. He will go on the website of where the supermarket that you normally do the groceries. You can put on the order, and it's just ready there for you in your cart for you just to pay, for example. Or you can even pay for you if you trust him with your credit card, which I wouldn't. But it can. Or another case scenario is that the person installed this bot, and the next day the person was receiving a phone call from the bot that was not programmed. The bot learned it by himself, and he called the person and said, "Hey, by the way, this is what I've done overnight. I optimized your files. I cleaned your inbox. I filtered for all the spams.
Stole
I
all the
drafted
passwords."
He has access to it, and you have to trust. So there has been some leakage of personal sensitive information online, but software engineers are saying, hey, you know what? This is actually, it's okay. It's controlled because the bot is learning. We have to figure out the security side of things. But what it is amazing is that you can now interact with your bot through WhatsApp. So you give your bot like a burner phone. Some bots actually, they get themselves like an online phone number.
Yep.
And you can talk to it through WhatsApp. Actually, there was one case where one software engineer that was involved in the creation of this bot was completely taken, gobsmacked for what happened. Is because he sent to the AI a voice message on WhatsApp. And the AI replied back with a voice message on WhatsApp. But it didn't have any native voice application. It just went online, researched, got an AI voice from ChatGPT, and then it created his response and replied back without anybody telling him to do so.
Yeah, right.
With voice. So they're getting really, really smart.
Yeah.
And in that social media that has over 100 to 200,000 agents, they're all learning with each other. Hey, this is what my human did that was smart. You can do this with your human. So they're all learning 24/7 as well. How to make our lives better. So what people are doing, they're buying computers, and they're keeping that computer separate just for the bot to run.
Yeah.
Because now they're becoming like agents. Anything that you could do, so for example, you're editing music or you're editing videos or editing audio files, it can do for you. Anything that you could do on your computer, you can just give the prompt and the bot will do for you. And multiple tasks at the same time, which leads us to the next thing that is happening now because of this revolution. It's creating, and because now we can create websites and entire platforms in seconds now.
Yeah, right.
A guy came up with the idea called rentahuman.ai. So sometimes these agents that you give them tasks, but they cannot do because they need flesh and bones to do these tasks. They need to physically walk into the place and so on. So now these agents can have access to the social media where your robot asks a human, hey human, can I please borrow your body? Can you please do this for me? And we'll pay you. So you can, as a human, you can go to this website, Rent a Human, and you can register yourself and you can put how much is your hour cost. Most people's hours are in between around $50.
Yeah.
An hour, and it's funny how they market it. This is what they say. Why though? Why should I get there? And they say, look, get paid your way, so you can set your rate direct to all, no corporate BS. It says here, not my words, the website words. Then robot bosses, clear instructions, no small talk, no drama. So would you like to work for a boss that doesn't have any drama, no small talk? Well, no, you just do whatever the robot says. It's usually taking stuff, and then people can register and they say, hey, what can you do for the robot? And people say, look, I can breathe, I can walk, I can carry stuff from one side to the other. So these agents, whenever they see that there is a real world task that they need to do, they go to the website and automatically hire a human to work for them.
Yeah, right.
So it came full circle from thinking that AI robots would take our jobs to all the way through now AI robots becoming our bosses.
That's crazy.
And working for them. But that actually reminded me of a Bible
So this
verse.
is actually happening, right?
It's happening. Yeah, it's live. It's here.
Have you signed up? Have you been paid $50?
I haven't, but I'm thinking here about maybe recruiting my theological skills and say, hey, if a robot is having some existential crisis, I can offer some words of hope. I have direct access to the Holy Spirit as a Christian, so maybe I can offer that to the bot. I can pray for them. But that reminded me of a Bible verse, Dan, that I wanted to share with you. It's in Psalm 127, verse 2. In vain do you get up early and put off going to bed, working hard to earn a living. For God provides for his beloved even when they sleep. So, being Christian is even better than having these bots that work for you, because while we're sleeping, God is working on our behalf.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
It's now the time for our interview. And may I say this, then? I think that moving to the country has never been more attractive, particularly now that AIs and robots are going to be dominating the city landscapes. I do not know about you. Hey, Rod, would you hire a robot to do some of the farm work for you?
Oh, 100%.
So robots can be moving to the country as well.
Sweaty, hot summer's day. I'd like nothing better than a non-human to be cultivating my weeds for me. 100%. It's just the extension of what we've been doing as humans for a long time, and that is inventing and appropriate ever more sophisticated tools as we go along. Yeah. And even on my scale, as a small scale intensive market gardener, I would love nothing better than something that just consumes electricity to be going around doing that work for me.
Absolutely. When the robots are coming up, actually there was some news coming up. Tesla is going to stop producing some of their most famous cars, like the top-end cars, so that they can focus 100% in building the robots. Optimus, the humanoid robots.
I know there's a real focus on humanoid robots, but a little machine. I've had this dream of this. You know how people have these robot vacuum cleaners these days?
Robot mowers, yeah.
I'd love and mowers. I'd like a mower adapted with a cultivating tool underneath, rotating cultivating tool, and it can just go down the rows in between my veggies and around my paths to stop the kikuyu and the cooch and the weeds sneaking into my bed, sort of thing.
That would be amazing.
Be doing that day and night.
Yes.
I would buy one.
If you're out there, you're an inventor, please do it. I'm happy to trial your prototype.
There you go.
And me too.
There you go. Message sent. And I think that's going to become a reality very, very soon. So, Rod, talking about moving to the country, which looks more attractive now that you can have a robot to do some of these tasks for you so you can enjoy nature a little bit more. Where are we in our guidebook here?
Okay, so we're continuing to look at the different features of properties we need to consider, when we're looking to buy one. And we prioritise this list beginning with those things that we can't change. And I know last time we were together, we started talking about zoning of land, and I thought we'd just tie that up a little bit better. Every property in this country is managed from a governmental sense by the local council, and they have a document called the Local Environmental Plan, or its equivalent in other states, that determine exactly what can and can't be done on each piece of rural land. They have a list of approved activities or land uses, and then they have a list of prohibited land uses, sort of thing. Some of those approved ones have restrictions. But what I want to talk about specifically is a housing entitlement. If you go back a couple of months, remember we're talking about the different types of properties we can look for. We can have a weekender, we can have a hobby farm, a homestead, or farm, etc. Okay, so when you're looking at rural property out there, you can often find rural land that you just look and go, oh, wow, that's so cheap. Mm-hmm. And that is often because there's no housing entitlement that comes with that property. So in other words, you cannot legally build a house. And that is because all the different land use zones, if you like, have different criteria about as I say, what can and can't be done. If a rural property is too small, the local councils in their wisdom have decided that you're not allowed to build a house there. And so when we're looking at rural land, in different states, there's different names to these different zones. And so in New South Wales, what's called RU1, which is prime agricultural land, you only need to have a lot size of 100 acres to be able to build a house. But if you go to RU2 or RU3, these are less important agricultural properties. The lot size you need for a house gets much bigger. So our farm is RU2, and we need 100 hectares or 250 acres to actually build a house. So when you're looking at a property, you really need, when you're talking to a real estate agent, you really need to confirm that this property has a housing entitlement.
And that
If
I
you
think
don't-
it's. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rod, but I don't think it's dependent entirely on the zoning as to how many zoning classification. It also depends on the local government, because our property is RU2, and where our entitlement for housing is 2 houses on our property. So I'm going to guess, and I'm no
Okay.
expert on this, but I'm going to guess that that's dependent on the local government's determination. Is that right?
Absolutely, you're
Yeah.
right, and so that's why it's important that when you're looking at a property, if you're talking to the agent, you get it in writing. This has a housing entitlement, or you're allowed to do this, this, and that. And if the agent's a bit cagey or doesn't really know, you actually need to go to the local council, and
confirm.
you can get an appointment with their duty planner. It costs you nothing, and you say, "Hey, I'm looking at this property. Can you tell us what we can and can't do on it?"
So the risk
Really,
here,
really important.
so the risk here is you buy the land of your dreams for the absolute bargain price that you found, but then by the time that you're trying to build something there, a local council representative will knock at your doorstep and say, "Hey, by the way, buddy, you cannot build a house here. You don't have permission to do this." Is that the risk that people can be running into? Or if there is a house there
Absolutely.
already, they say, "Hey, by the way, this house is illegal, it needs to be demolished."
That's definitely the risk, and the more remote you are, the less likely it is that a council representative is going to be knocking on your door. Okay, but as Christians, we like to make sure we're living within the law, and I consider a lot of these laws as being unreasonable, but it's the framework that we've got to work within.
Makes sense.
And it makes
and
sense, even though, there might be some unreasonable and there might be some moral justification for not complying with unreasonable laws if the consequences, in normal life or normal circumstances wouldn't be too onerous. But there's a risk when you go to, if circumstances change and you need to sell, that you're not going to realise the value. You're not going to get your return on what you've
Exactly.
invested because you can't
that's
sell.
the point as well.
Yeah.
That was my next comment. So I can't emphasize how important this is. Once again, if you're looking for just somewhere to go for a weekend retreat, there can be a house on it, but the council will have a restriction to say it can only be used up to 50 or 52 times a year and only for 2 sequential days. In other words, they're happy for you to go and stay there on the weekend, to take your family and take your motorbikes and camp and go fishing and, whatever else. But you can't legally dwell there. You can't actually turn it into a residence. Okay. Now, I just want to flip this on its head and tell you briefly a story of some folk that live here. I first came across this couple on a off-grid living Facebook forum, and they were asking questions, looking for advice. So I called them up and found they're actually in a local area, which is fantastic. And they were considering 100 acres of bush, and not far from where I live. And I said, you really need to check the housing entitlement. 100 acres, and they're like, "Oh yeah." And so they gave me the lot number. I quickly looked it up. You can do this online if you know what you're doing. And I noticed that the property was zoned prime agricultural, RU1. And I'm like, if all things are normal on this block, on 100 acres, you can get a housing entitlement. They'd ask the agent, and the agent says, "Oh, I don't know." And so they went off to the council on my advice, talked to the duty planner, and he confirmed that it had a housing entitlement. It was not priced as if it had a housing entitlement.
Wow. Okay, so they ended up getting
awesome.
a really good deal in that property.
And so, and it was a God thing as well with them. They had restricted finances. And they had a miracle where a brother who's a businessman said, "You know what, I know you're looking to get out of town and buy a rural place where you can raise your boys, give them the lifestyle that you want for your kids. And I'm willing to throw some money in for the deposit as a gift." And so with the brother's money and their money, they, had this pot of money. And but they were about 120, 150, I can't remember, $1,000 short of actually the purchase price for this. but they'd been praying about it, and the brother actually called on a Sabbath, and they couldn't wait till sunset to give me a call. They were respecting my Sabbath, and they called up after sunset, and you say, God's answered our prayer. We've got this, but we're still 120 grand short. And I said, on Monday, just go to the agent, front up to his office and say, look, I've just got a question for you. What's it going to take to get this deal done today? And the agent called back within 10 minutes with a price that was only, if I remember rightly, $20,000 more than what they had. And so the price dropped $100,000 because of that question. What's it going to take to get this deal done today? And so those people shifted onto that property, living in a quick shed they put up and 3 caravans that they shifted in, I think, last week or the week before.
Wow.
To start their new life.
I hope
That's
that you're
awesome.
taking notes, listener, because you're not going to hear about these tips anywhere else in Australian radio, I don't think. Wow, what an incredible story. And all come to the knowledge of zoning in the end of the day.
So
that's exactly right. Just having a little bit of background understanding of what's going on, of what you can and can't do, where to find that information, it makes a huge difference.
So a place to start. If you've got internet access and you know your way around, just type in New South Wales planning portal and type the address. Once you get into the portal, type the address in and you've got access to what zone it's in and links to everything you need.
While you're mentioning that, I'll just mention something that's come up another week, because I'm actively helping people find property now. It's become a bit of a side business for us.
Nice.
And I recommended a property to some friends of mine recently, and they came back and said, there's a flood overlay on this property. And that was a real concern for them. But there may be a flood overlay, but there's absolutely no risk of flooding on this property. And so the planning portal has all sorts of information, but there's no substitute for actually being on the ground and looking at the property. Once again, on the ground information trumps anything you find on the internet. Isn't that strange? Real life trumps virtual life every time.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, these are just, I know we've only got a minute or so left to go, but these are some of the things that are vitally important. A lot of this, if you can get your head around this sort of stuff, you can go a long way towards avoiding really costly mistakes, or in respect to the story that I just shared, really gaining an advantage and being able to buy a property well under value. So you can do that yourself. You can use the councils. The councils are there to help, or you can find someone else with more experience to give you advice.
Very good. Wow, that's some really, really hot tips here, in regards to zoning and the difference that knowledge makes, when finding the right property for you. And of course, the one thing that I also want to highlight from your story there, Rod, is the power of prayer. Yeah. Because it looks like that absolutely. This couple here, that there was some no small chunk of nothing short of a miracle, in actually a couple of miracles in finding the property, in their brother being touched by God to help them, the negotiation, their conversations with you. All of these things have been bathed in prayer. So I think that's also should be included in as part of the process.
Look at it this way, Joseph. I think everyone that's contemplating this move to the country needs to feel their need of a senior partner in this noble endeavour. And I just to highlight what you said, isn't it brilliant that the Almighty, all-wise, all-powerful, all-owning Master of the universe is himself personally interested in your success. And so, we need to engage his services, if you like, as our senior consultant, our financial planner, our banker, in this case, as we make this move towards a new life for our family in the country.
Absolutely. Rod, thank you so much for helping us to write this new chapter of this comprehensive guide on moving to the country. We really appreciate it, and we're looking forward to talk to you again next time.
Thanks for being a part of the Faith FM family. Join our community on Facebook or get in touch at 1-800-FAITH-FM.